Hi, welcome back. So, look, I said I was going to go through a few things with you, and one of them we're going to do today is around the bolster risk management, the steps 1, 2, and 3 as you progress through your financial services knowledge and education, if you want to go that far. So, you might have seen the little animated videos of the house and different things on there. This is me going through it right now. Okay, so we start off. And what's the first thing you have when you're building a house? You have the foundation. And then you put up some walls. And before you know it, you start looking at your house. There we are. Okay, now, so yes, insurance is the foundation. You need insurance because without the foundation in place, it's very difficult to make sure that the walls, your income, is supported. Okay, if something happens to your income, it's all over. So you have the foundation in place to make sure that regardless of what happens, you can always have your income supported. And the roof on top is retirement. And within that part, you've got 3 buckets. So the Retirement Commission here in New Zealand, they look at it as a 3-legged stool. Okay, so you've got the government super, you've got KiwiSaver, and then your own assets. Now, when I talk to people about KiwiSaver and what they're going to do in retirement, they always forget about, or they quite often forget about what they're doing themselves. So yes, the government's going to help them with some superannuation, some pension, or what have you. There is some KiwiSaver if you've been putting into that over time. And then there's your own assets. And what are your own assets? So in New Zealand, we tend to know and like, we've all played Monopoly, haven't we? So Monopoly, what do you have with Monopoly? You have a broken pen. You have 1, 2, or 3 really badly drawn houses. 4 greenhouses, and what do you have after 4 greenhouses? You have a red hotel. We know this. This is kind of Monopoly 101, right? You have 4 greenhouses, you get the hotel. What does that mean for Bolster? Well, start off, your first bit you worry about is get your insurance in place. Then get your retirement figured out, and then start thinking about your own assets. Now, it might be houses, it might not be. It might be the share market and it's staggered way up. Okay, doesn't really matter. The point is that the foundation for all your financial services, for your financial management, for how you're thinking, has got to start off with insurance. Okay, so what is insurance? So how does that work? Well, there are broadly, find a pen that works. There are broadly, I've got 4 pens here, none of them work. How's that for planning? Okay, broadly there are 5 different types of insurance product. Okay, starts off with health and medical. We've got income replacement, trauma, total permanent disability, and life. And let's be blunt here, they call it life insurance, it's actually death. It gets paid out when you die or when you're terminally ill. Now this is a little graphic that one of the insurance companies have put together. So when you're born, you're nice, fit and healthy, this is you up here, but over time, something happens and you cark it. Okay, so 5 different insurance products: health and medical, income replacement, trauma, total permanent disability, and death. So that's the type of cover. So whenever you're looking at insurance, it doesn't matter what type of insurance you're looking at, it always comes down to what's the cover and what's the cost. Okay, so that's all well and good. We've told you what the cover is, but then what about cost? How do you determine it? How do you know the different types of cover you should have? And look, we look at that from the point of view that it's different priorities that you have. Okay, so your first priority, now depending on who you are, your first priority might be having life insurance in place. You might have a debt on the home, and people always know, they kind of intuitively know that life insurance is a fairly simple product to understand. If you die, your family gets paid out. So the first priority might be life insurance, and then there's a second priority, and then there's a third priority, a fourth, and a fifth. Now, depending on your income, depending on your budget, depending on your family situation, you might only be able to afford, you might only choose to have a first and second priority. You might only want to have 1 or 2 product types. The other end of the scale, you might choose to have all 5. So the size of the pizza is going to be dependent on your needs and how much you can afford. Now, what we know through research and also through my own clients is somewhere between 3 and 6% of your gross income for the household is going to be what you're going to be spending on your personal insurance. Okay, and that's going to change depending on your situations. That's why you need to speak to an advisor. So your budget, the cost dynamic you're looking at trying to get to, is dependent on what you're trying to get, how much you've got in the kitty to spend, and what your key priorities are that you're trying to cover for. Because remember, insurance, it's there to, it's a financial risk management tool, okay? And that sounds all hairy-fairy and lots of fancy words. Essentially, what you're doing with insurance is you are paying a company that if the worst happens, if something happens to you and goodbye John Jones, okay, then your family is going to get paid out a lump of money. Okay, that's all we're doing is transferring risk from one person to another. If all of that is a bit confusing, that's fine. Have a look at the little ebook I've put out that just goes through the insurance basics. Have a look at that. I don't expect this to make sense on the first go. Pick up the phone, have a conversation with me. Have a look at some of the other articles I'm putting online. And look, let's just start the conversation going. The whole point of what we're trying to do with Bolster risk management is to guide you through so that you have some understanding of insurance, so you can make some informed decisions and choices. So then when you do actually have your cover in place, you have a pretty good idea of why you've got it and what you've got, okay? So see how you go. By all means, jump on and give me a call, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.